So, hi everyone, I'm Vihan and I developed Repel. So, it is a repository analyzer and visualization tool. So, you just have to give the file path to it and it will compute everything in a very visual mode for you, and you can analyze the code, you can get the AI summaries of the particular file, and a lot of features there are. We'll see it in the prototype. So let's see what the project is overall from the technical aspects. Putting it simple, these are all the features that the project has. So core features, basic features are folder grouping, layout, cycle detection, etc. Metrics are line of code, complexity, color modes. Color modes we'll see in the prototype, and CSV export. CSV export is an extra feature I just added from my end. Then we have the AI. So AI has file summary from Grok, overview, and local cache. Local cache is basically you get the response from the AI, it gets stored to your cache, and then you can directly use it from the cache rather than asking AI again and again. Risk analysis, git churn, it analyzes the overall commit history, a particular file, how much time the particular file was committed, what were the changes, not what were the changes, but how much time it was committed, and it estimates the risk based on that. We have complexity into churn score. This is basically the risk. Then we have the risk hotspot color mode. So basically, like it explains which files are in high risk, which files are in low risk based on complexity and churn. And impact mode, it basically tests the blast radius of that particular file. Then these are all the endpoints. Basically, overall, main endpoints are the first one, get, where we get all the list of all the repos. Then we have this get repo ID graph point where you can get the particular nodes, edges, metrics for a particular file, particular folder. I mean, sorry. Then we have this tree, so you get the folder tree. Then we have preview, so you get the preview first 80 lines of the code of that particular file using this endpoint. And you have this summarize, so like this is the summary of that particular file. Again, this is cached. And you have the overview, so you get the overview of the particular repository that you are visualizing, analyzing. And lastly, this is export for CSV download. Then we have this for storage database. So not exactly database, but we are storing it in our local folder. So here you can see you have two major files. First is repos.json and second is summary cache.json. So repos.json, here we store all the repositories that are present, all the repositories that we are willing to analyze, visualize. And second is summary cache.json. So here what happens is the response you get from the AI is stored here, and whenever you want to recheck the response, it is directly accessed from this cache rather than having again the request to AI. We could have had this in a separate database, but just for the sake of simplicity, and there were not explicit requirements in database, so I just put it here. But having it in a database is a really simple task, nothing much to do. Then we have the overall what happens in the code base under the hood. We'll analyze it by this particular endpoint, this particular request. So when the user hits this endpoint, first what happens is our directory program runs. We get the list of files, the path extension present in it. Then we have get dependencies. We get the dependencies that are used for a particular file. Calculate metrics, again, you get the line of code complexity of that particular file. Then we have the churn data. So it runs this particular command and you get the overall statistics, the commit history of that particular file through this. And you can compute risk score based on that, like complexity and churn. It's a combination of both. And this is the response you see. Then, yeah, so before this, so yeah, this was all about the technical aspects. Now let's jump onto the prototype and see what actually the product is, and all the features you can see through it. So yeah. So I have initiated the server. I will click on this link directly. Yeah, here. So we got here. So this is our project, Repal. First, I'll add repository, like absolute path of your repository. So I have this like basic full stack application repository present in my local folder. So I'll paste it here. And after adding repository, you can directly open the graph from here. So yeah, here we go. This is Repel. So first of all, you can see here we get the mm, folder separation. So front end and back end are separated. You can get individual files, how they are connected. You can see the accurate visualization here. These are legends, and here you get the project overview. So like these are the same thing. Actually, this sidebar is for the particular file overview, but since you haven't clicked on particular file, you get the project overview. So this is the text. So here you can like read about the project. It like tells you that what files are on high risk, uh, like overall overview for a like new developer who is coming, who is like seeing the code base for the first time. On the right, you can like see basic things like dependent line of code, files, etc., cycles, etc. Yeah. Then, like if I click on a particular node, that is a particular file, I can see here we get the metrics. So first metrics is like type, then we have line of code, complexity, imports, like one out, one in, like basic stuff. Then you have the history. So risk score, like as we saw about the risk factor. So this is the risk score, which is pretty low. Then you have commits in last 1 year. You have only one commit related to this file. Then contributors one, like I am the one who contributed. So here you can see only one, and last change here you can see the particular date. Then we have this AI. So here you get like the overall AI summary. So basically, like you can check, you can read this, you can understand what the file does, what is its responsibilities, its issues, vulnerabilities, or whatever like happening in file overall, how it is responsible for like how it is serving to the code base. You can see here, you can understand it here. And this is the preview. This is just the extra part which I added from my end. Here you can get the preview of that particular file. Then like you can do this for any node, anything, like yeah, see. And like if I click on this node again, then I will get the same response. The response does not change because the response got cached. See, yeah, here you see analyzing. Then I click here, analyzing, and then click here again. So it's not analyzing, it's just like forwarding the cached stuff here directly on the front end. Here you have like these are the four like divisions. Like here you can visually see. First is language. So based on the language, we have categorized into like we have color graded it. You can see in the legends. Then on LOC heat line of code, like the project, the file with most line of code, the file with least line of code. Based on that, we have segregated it. Then here CC heat. So here you can get the complexity of the particular file. So like complexity is a thing which in our particular code base is limited to Python only. That's why here, since most of the file are JSX based, you cannot see complexity. It's not in any color. I will show you in Python particularly. And like this is the only limitation of our project, that the complexity is just defined for Python only, not for any other language. Then you have risk hotspot. So again, like as we discussed the risk, we compute the risk based on complexity and churn. So here you get the risk hotspot. Most thread are the most committed files and like most complex. So far, so forth. Then this is the like good feature, which is impact. So if I click on impact, I have two options, either who breaks and either needs what. So if I like continue with two breaks and then click on particular file, so what happens is it gives me a like connection of that particular file in the entire code base. So if anything breaks in this particular file, these three files will get affected. And here you can clearly see we get the blast radius total affected files 3. Then like if we see needs what, so then I click on particular thing, so you can get here what the particular file needs. So user controller need, you can see here is a dependency for user control. So like you can click and get its dependency, indirect dependency, direct dependency. So this was the impact feature particularly. Then like you can close it, then you can just like see basic. Here you can see like what are the general connections, how the files are dependent on each other. You can see in the legends dependencies, cycle, color, and like if you release it, you can generally, like if I just hover on it, I can directly see the dependencies that are used, like dependencies in the sense what files are connected, what files are used here. So this was, then you have like, this is again a extra feature that I just added. Here you can see, you can just have like the visualization of your entire file folder structure. So I clicked here, I can see server, its connections, overall dependencies. I can click on a particular file and get the dependencies. I can click on the entire folder. No, like I can click on it. I can click on entire folder, or I can click on the major part of that folder to get the particular like dependencies connections that a file has. So this is just a basic feature. And lastly, you have the search feature where you can just type a particular file name or particular like maybe post route. Yeah, post. So you have this particular file you get. So this is just a basic thing I have added from my end. So this is all. This is how Repal works. Then you can just reload it and you get the summary again. You can download the CSV social metric CSV from here, where you can get the metrics that of this particular repository. So that's how Repal works. Lastly, we have the testing phase. So like project reviewer, as the project, as the PS demands, we have like the Swagger UI where we can like project. So for Repal particularly, here you have the like I have listed all the APIs. So I will first use, we can see the get API. So yeah, when I click on get, I just registered social, so I can see response body of social. Then we have post, you can add repo through it, you can delete repo. Then you have this get repo ID. If I take this ID, I copy this ID and paste directly here in the repo ID. I paste it here and then execute. So I get the graph of this particular repository. So you can see you get the nodes, you get, these are all nodes basically. Then like wait a second, it's a huge file. So and all the metric data, you can see you get the repo here, you get the churn data here, and a lot of things. So this was the graph. Then you have the tree. So again, I can like to just try it out, I can paste the repo ID and I execute, and I will get the tree of this, like the folder structure, file structure, like whatever you say. So this is all we get. Then if I click on, this is preview. So here you require the, like you have to preview a file, so you need a file location here. Then you have this like repo overview. Here you can get the overview of that particular repo. So here you again have to put the repo ID. You will execute it and you will get this particular summary of that particular repo. And that's how, like again, this file ID, file repo ID preview and like repo ID summarize works, where you just have to put the file ID and it will get the summary of that particular file. So like this was all the testing. Like here this is export, you can directly export the CSV. So the video is getting a much longer, so I will not test everything. I just tested the major things. So this was all about Repal. Thank you.